We are live. Thanks everyone for popping in. Currently, I'm gonna wait until we get a few more loaded in, and I'm ready to rock and roll and give people updates. Um, give people updates on where Disability Community for Democracy is at. This live is only for subscribers to Nothing About Us Without Us, so the chat is turned on for everyone to be able to comment. Unfortunately, depending on what kind of live we have, we can't anymore have, just have the chat open to everyone. If it's a live open to everyone, regardless if they're a subscriber on Substack or not. Um, and so I just want to just say that. Um, and Hi, Doc Staff. Chat's moving fast. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Anne. Um, Hi, Mandy. Um, I'm just calling out the ones I'm like catching right away. Um, so with that, we have enough people to start, and I'm just going to start on a personal note. Is about what happened in Maine yesterday. And for those of you who don't know, I do not live in Maine. I do live in New England. I live less than a couple of hours away from the state of Maine. And um no worry, Neuro, D, we just started. I'm just gonna actually repeat what I just said. Um and I just literally just started. Um I live I don't live in Maine. I only live a couple hours away from from Maine, not even. Um New England is a very small region, and Maine is the whitest state in the United States. So I just want people to keep in mind what's happening in Maine is so bad that it's bringing out people who would normally not come out. And the reason why I am obviously, I feel bad for the family for the senseless loss of life. I also say this for my friends and family who are in local law enforcement. If they did what ICE did yesterday to this man with a child in the car, one, they would be suspended without pay for at least 30 days. Two, even if they were not charged, they would be fired. Okay? These people would be fired if this happened to local law enforcement. I did not sleep well last night. You kind of tell I have the hat on. I have my workout clothes on. I've been mainly in the bed this morning. I'm sad and angry and wondering what we're going to do about it. And I'm realizing that all of this stuff that they're doing, all of the violence, the DOJ memo against the Olmstead decision, criminalizing dissent by throwing people in jail for 30 years for just moving a box, um, is basically, we keep saying the Nazis, the Nazis, the Nazis. We have done this in this country, and I wish we would talk about it more. Um, and so Disability Community for Democracy is going to push back. I don't know in what way yet. I still have to meet with the leadership team. I know in January when Renee Good and Alex Preddy were murdered. They were murdered. We're just gonna call it what it is, by ICE and Border Patrol. I wrote an article called "ICE Ain't Welcome Here," And I might actually ask people for help on this piece. Um, um, I might ask for people for help on this piece. Hey, everyone who's saying hi on this piece, because I am really upset. I am also just let everybody know we still need to get Olmsted codified into law. And even though we do have a wonderful team of individuals that have popped on hopped on to Disability Community for Democracy to help, like Beth Beth Cruz, who is our Western coordinator now for legal and policy, and Nick Paro, who is also in the chat, is our director of framing, and also we're partnering together on the Say No to Crip Crow campaign. It's a lot. And everyone has to do, everybody has a lane. I mean, I've even seen people apologizing. Ellie Leonard apologized because she hasn't spoken up enough about the DOJ memo. And I'm like, you don't have to apologize. She's taken on the Epstein class, and she's helped Nick Nick and me out by connecting us to larger Substack creators to get the word out. So I will say this. Everybody does not have to be in leadership. Everybody doesn't have to volunteer their time in the same way. Everybody has, the number of spoons. And as we say, the disability community, how much energy you have, depending on already what you're doing. Some of you are also doing work in other ways in your local community. Become a paid subscriber if you could afford to. Thanks, Duro. If you could afford to become a paid subscriber, you can honestly, you could become a paid subscriber for $5 a month. But it also, or you could, right now we're offering 30% off. It really actually allows us to fund the work that we're doing. Disability Community for Democracy does not get any funding at all from anybody. We don't get grants or anybody from the government or anything like that. And so we're really trying to get Olmsted codified into law because of the fact that they will use and have used disability to weaponize dissent in this country. Like, this is not like a made up thing. You can Google protest psychosis and and um and you can see what happened to Black men, especially during the civil rights movement, when they were increased they were diagnosed with schizophrenia more because they were pushing back against the racism in this country during the 1960s. And so that's just the one thing. This is the reason why we are going to be focused on the Olmsted, getting it codified under Section 2 of the ADA. Um, the thing that I will say is that we have updated the website with the policy talking points, our two policy asks, which is to codify Olmsted and to also enforce the accessibility requirements on websites tied to the bird rule and reconciliation, the reconciliation process. This is the only way you could get through under the 60 vote threshold that the Senate requires. This is a Senate rule. However, and you can read more about this on the Say No the Crip Crow website. Nick, if you're in the chat, or Beth, if you could post that link in the chat, that would be greatly appreciated. Because I do not have it handy. I'm on a different browser that I don't always use, so I don't have the what's it called? The favorites on this browser. Um, and so I just want people to know, please keep calling, please keep, keep calling your US representative and your 2 members of Congress. There are 3 phone scripts, there are 3, um, there are 3 fax scripts. Putting people putting people in institutions is not a conservative value. I just wanna say that for those who might have voted for the current occupant or who voted for the current occupant, but don't lean, are not MAGA. We were able to get out of institutions because of conservative values. It wasn't progressives who actually said anything about disability. Just a reminder for people who want to know the history of our country, um, and disability rights in this country. The 504 protests happened under Jimmy Carter's administration, which is a Democrat. Uh, just FYI. Doro, if you could actually post the actual link to the site itself, the Say No to Crip site, that'd be greatly appreciated. Um, so I just want to just say that to individuals here, that it's really important for people to understand that this is not about this is about progressing as society or regressing. And I don't think any of us who rely on community-based services, either case management or home care, want to be placed in institutions or have a psych diagnosis, want to be placed into institutions when it's not necessary. And so we're not asking for, additional spending to be spent on housing or anything like that because the money isn't there. They made these cuts to Medicaid, and with some of the organizations, what they're asking for doesn't um doesn't make sense at this juncture, to be asking for things when they've made cuts. I mean, I'm realistic about what we could ask for, and I know there are other organizations that are, tying it to housing and long term care facilities. We do not have time for that. We need to get Olmstead codified ASAP, or it could go the way of Roe versus Wade, which everybody keeps talking about. It's abortion, it's abortion, it's abortion. Yes, abortion was part of it, but it was the right to privacy. And people with disabilities have the right. We don't. Our right to privacy is no longer protected because Roe's gone. So it's a little more complicated than what everybody makes it out to be. Um. So I just want to say that, um, as well. Um. I want to also say I'm sorry. Uh, I'm sorry you're terrified. I get it, and I respect that, and I just, this is why we keep fighting back against stuff like this. One of the other things I want to say is Nick and I are going live, um, at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, for our third if technically it's our 3rd episode of Listen Louder. Um Listen Listening Louder. I love the title. And 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 just please, like, if you can hop on, it's gonna live stream on Sick of This Shit, a platform, and on this platform. So, uh, and we're gonna have a wonderful guest, and we're gonna talk more about the Olmstead memo and next steps, to 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 get it codified. And thank you. Please let people know that we exist. We're doing this live stream. Um, the other thing is we still need people to volunteer in leadership positions. if you have the bandwidth. Um, if we have the bandwidth, uh, if you have the bandwidth, Sam, I do agree with some people need to be institutionalized. I'm not against institutionalization itself. I'm against the government keeping people against the will, um, when it's not necessary, like they used to do back in the day. Sam, I'm older than you, and I actually remember those times when they used to do that before Olmsted, where private facilities, um, used to keep you longer than necessary. I don't know how old you are, Sam, but I was born in the mid-70s. I was, I remember what life was like before the ADA. I remember what life was like f I remember what life was like prior to Olmsted for being in a psych hospital. So, I just want people. Yeah, you're saying you're 30? Is that what you're saying, Sam? I really like your work, and in a lot of ways, politically, we agree, but we're not gonna agree on this. I have worked in those institutions, at the state level, and, as a mental health care advocate, state and at the inpatient and outpatient. Those places are horrible. And so I just want people to understand that institutionalization is the last resort when needed. And so I get people, sometimes people do need to be institutionalized, but a lot of times it's not that they need to be institutionalized, it's that the government is spending money in places, um, it's not allocating money appropriate levels, to the community. So, I'm not saying, just again, Nick and I have never said that we're against institutionalization, and there are times where people do actually need to be involuntarily committed for the safety of the community, and others temporarily, but not for years on end, okay? And that's what was happening to people because the government didn't wanna spend the money, because they were spending the money this way or that way. Um So, I just want people, to understand that I am not for keeping people in institutions when it's not necessary. I'm not. I believe in if you believe in personal liberty and freedom, then you should believe that people should have the right supports to be in the community. And it also costs less. That's the other thing for the conservatives on here who, who who say that people should, that might be silent on this or believe that that people need to be institutionalized. It actually costs more money to keep people in institutions than it does to keep them outside of the community. This is not my opinion. You can actually Google the stats on this. Um, and and that's really the issue. Um, this is, this is really the issue for me where a lot of people don't know the history of how we got here, and then they want to they know the history but they didn't experience it, or they don't really know it at all, and then they want to say, everything is all or nothing, and it's not. Um, and also with the DOJ memo, um, for the DOJ memo, and because I serve on my city's commission, um, good luck on your appointment on my city's commission. And the executive director just happened to for, uh, work for DOJ in the, in around disability enforcement. I think it either was the DOJ or the Department of Ed. I don't remember which one. She said to me that this memo is about enforcement. She backed me up on it, and she said what they will consider mental illness is going to be mental disabilities will be expansive. You will range everything from what's it called? From people who have autism and ADHD to people who are trans. And I get there might be people who might have religious beliefs around sexuality and um and gender identity. It doesn't mean people need to be institutionalized for that. Um Either. Those are not, that I just want to say that. And the ADA, like Lisa said, everything disability related in this country has been a heavily Republican led. It's not just the ADA. It was the update to the Rehabilitation Act. Actually, Nixon signed that. Anything related to voting access, it was, like it was signed. It was signed under, like expansion to access to the vote for the HAVA and updates to the Voting Rights Act were signed under Republican presidents. So this is what they're doing. This is not conservative. This is white. This is eugenics, and eugenics is a form of white supremacy. So for every person who is white and disabled who thinks they're going to be protected because of the color of their skin or how much access their parents have to money or how much access they have to money themselves on their own, good luck. That's not happening. If this administration wants to, given how much money they have around ICE, they are they can actually institute tomorrow saying every person who has a disability who is not quote unquote productive to be rounded up. This is not like hyperbole and stuff like that. This is just like real. Like, just look at the numbers. Look at what's happening. Look at history in this country. Look at history in other parts of the world. Nazi Germany wasn't the only place who did this. They learned from us. And so I just want to say that, um, Melissa, Melissa, do you wanna hop on with me? I know you're technically not a member of the disability community, but you're a big ally. Do you wanna hop on with me? You're also lean politically the same way I do and others in the chat. Can you actually explain to people that I'm not like, I don't have a tinfoil hat on if you're free? If you're free. If you're not, I totally understand. Um, because some people are gonna say, "Oh, she has a tinfoil hat on," conspiracy theory. Um But it's not. I don't like conspiracy theory either. So, I don't do conspiracy theories. So, I just wanna say that to people. You're fine. You don't have to turn on your camera. You can do audio. I'm sending you an invite. Just keep your camera just keep your camera off. Thanks, Duro. I'm awesome. Thanks. I'm not feeling awesome today. I'm feeling very upset. This is what happened yesterday. Melissa, hi, Melissa.
Hi, Naida. How are you?
Thank you for hopping on. Regardless, I know you're not camera ready. I'm not exactly camera ready either, so I just have my hat on.
That's
But reason why I'm asked you to come on because there might be people who subscribe to Nothing About Us without us that might not totally understand the danger of this and who are conservative and might look at me and say, "Well, what does she know?" Like, I think she's progressive. Just based on the color of my skin, even though I'm not. Uh, I'm definitely
Yes,
not a
that's the
progressive.
assumption, right?
That's the assumption, and I am definitely, I'm pro 2A, like, all the way. I don't believe in restrictions on gun. I believe in balanced budget amendment. I believe in our military. I'm pro police. I'm back to blue unless, they commit a crime where they need to go to jail. I support our military. I believe in our alliances. Hi, Eric. Um, See you later, Neuro. Um, but do you wanna talk about, from your perspective, who have also you were Republican once upon a time. I was never a Republican, I've always been an independent. So, um, what is your
Yeah.
thoughts on this?
So, no, so I don't think that anything you're saying is tinfoil hat level at all. Yes, I was a Republican quite a while ago now, but I was. And but I was what I guess you would call like a moderate, Republican, George H.W. Bush type Republican. Not even George W, but George H.W, which who of course signed the ADA, but the guys in there now, I think we all know, are not as much as you may have disagreed with Republicans in the past on economics or on foreign policy or any of that. These guys that are in there now, this this is this is not something that we can just brush aside and say that this is not going to happen. That they won't use this in some way um, to to create less freedom for people who are disabled. And the scariest part for other people too, even is that there could be new classifications of what counts as as a disability or as a mental illness. I mean, they're already talking about making what is it, Trump derangement syndrome, an actual, an actual mental, diagnosis. So yeah, no, I would, I think that we would not be wise to put anything past these guys and what they plan to do um, with this, particularly with the Olmstead ruling and all of that, and their plans, you know, not to recognize that anymore. And so, no, no tinfoil hat, Maida, not at all,
I
not
just
at
I
all. This is legit. I mean, these are legit concerns. And they're trying to roll back the clock on a lot of things, and the disability community is wrapped right up in that.
I just wanted and you also worked, like, because I did a live with, Melissa, almost 2 weeks ago now on the failures of the Never Trump movement from the disabilities perspective. Did the Never Trump movement warn everybody that this was gonna happen? I know they did. Uh,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think that the Never Trump movement, and of course, I was rather critical in my thesis, I guess you could say, about it, but I was criticizing myself too as part of the community. Was not that we didn't have it right about Trump and about what these folks are up to. That wasn't the issue. The issue is that we got a little bit too relaxed in just saying what was going to happen and starting publications and saying what's happening rather than actually doing something that may have stopped it. Unifying around a single mission um, uh, to solve this. But one of the very early issues that Never Trump brought up was the fact that the rights of individual communities could be impacted by this authoritarian approach to American government. And I think that people thought in the first term for Trump that it was like, okay, he was not a great guy, he was a terrible guy, but things basically stayed about the same. The guardrails held up, and then, but that's only because of who and I mean, this is pretty well established now. It's only because of who was actually serving in the cabinet at the time and who were, still in the institutions that were kind of holding things up. We don't see that now, and we know for a fact that Stephen Miller has an outsized influence on this administration. We know crazies like Laura Loomer have an outsized influence on Trump himself, and this is the way it's going. I mean, you can even look at the things that JD Vance writes and says, and you know, you can kind of see what this approach to governance is, and it is that even more so than it's ever been, that the American governance belongs in the hands of white, ideally male, ideally straight, Christian, and ableist folks, basically. And that's not that is absolutely 100% not um, a conspiracy theory. It's playing out.
And Melissa's not on camera, but Melissa is white, so so just wanted to say that. Uh,
Yeah,
I'm
I mean, I fit basically almost except for male, I fit basically all of those characteristics, and and I'm just telling you, you know, and I know some of these people, you know what I mean? Like, and yeah, this is not this is not catastrophizing. This is what's really happening, and you know, it's definitely something that we all need to, whether we ourselves are disabled or have disabled loved ones, or even just for, you know, just out of decency. You know what I mean? It doesn't even have to be that ourselves or someone we know. It's basic decency towards other human beings. I mean, these are freedoms. This comes down to, and that's not a liberal or conservative thing. Like you pointed out, conservative presidents have been, you know, very good in the past about, you know, expanding freedoms for the disabled. So it's not even it's not a political thing.
it's a
This is a
humanity
freedom.
thing.
What's
It's a
that?
humanity and a freedom thing, like you said. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. So, yeah. No.
So I just want to say this before we go. So Melissa and I are going to be working together on something. We're finalizing it in the next, like, we're gonna meet on Friday, we're gonna finalize it, there will be an announcement soon. We're both of us are Gen Xers, but she's, like, smack in the middle, and I'm at the tail end of Gen X, and so we have a different lived experience of how we see the world, and also we both ironically, we both live in the Northeast, so, um and so, it's gonna be really cool, like, to work with someone who understands, like, humanity isn't up for debate, but also shares the political values. It is
Yeah.
understands, like, Gen X. I'm gonna say this right now, for everyone who blames Gen X for where we're at, we've never had a Gen X president. Um, it's just FYI, we've never really had power to really do anything. We're also the smallest generation. We're sandwiched between boomers who are larger, still larger than us, and millennials. And so I just wanna say that. Uh, Sam, I did see your comment in the chat. I feel for you. And I do think, like, we need to protect, society from people like your uncle who can harm himself and others, but this is broader than that. Um, so I just wanna say that, and we can talk about what we can do about it in terms of, like, making sure people get the care they need in a humane way, but this is so broad that people would be forced to get care that don't have any disability at all. So, I just wanna say that, um, I just wanna say that this is, again, like, I am gonna just say this one more time for Kamala is not Gen X, technically, she was born in '64, 64 65 starts Gen X, 64 ends boomer. Trust me, I know, 'cause
It's super
my
close.
stepfather's not that
Yeah.
my stepfather's, only a couple years older than her. He's still Gen X. Um, so, so I just wanna say that. The other thing I do wanna say to everyone before I let Melissa go is I wanna thank Melissa for and publicly for sharing her, coming on with me and sharing her platform and letting people, working with me on getting the word out about the Say No to Crip Crow campaign and, her willingness to help. Um, um, willingness to help. I just want to say that, I also want to say, Dr. Eric, you're also on. And Dr. Eric is another key person who has been um, really helpful in getting the word out about this campaign. Melissa, is there any ask that you want to make to people as somebody who isn't a member of the disability community but an ally to the community and what you've seen as a Gen Xer growing up with students with disabilities in your classroom, and you have a younger sister who's close to be at age,
Yeah.
um, and 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 why you feel is important?
Well, one thing too is that my mom is now disabled and I'm a caregiver for her. So it's certainly made me a lot more aware. Um, than, I mean, when we were growing up, we had integrated classrooms, right? We had disabled people in our classrooms at that time in the 80s. Um, but it was always somebody else, you know what I mean? And, you know, it hits you yourself and you see what, people go through both as people who are disabled and people who love them. And when you think about the possibility that those things can be under threat, that should impact all of us. And I think someone in the chat said, we all eventually become disabled. This is a unifying human issue. You know, this isn't uh, a small group that's a niche group. This is everybody. This is all humans, and so no matter what generation you're in or when you grew up, um, this is an important um, uh, issue, and I'm so thankful to you, Naida, and everybody else here who is working on this. So it really means a lot to a lot of people. So thank you.
Thank you. Well, Melissa, I have not forgotten to send you the calendar invite. Just, did not sleep well last
No
night,
worries.
and I will
Don't
send
worry
it
at
to
all.
you later today. See you on Friday, my friend.
That sounds great. Thank you, Naida. I look forward to it.
Thanks. Eric, do you want to come on? Because you have a lot to say in the chat about this around money and stuff. And I'm not a doctor. Do you want to hop on and talk about this? Uh, you can say yes. 5 minutes is cool. I'm cool with 5 minutes. Just give your give your give your view in terms of the Medicaid, Medicare funding, and how this is totally crappy here.
Hey,
Hey, I wasn't look, I was planning on doing this solo, but everybody has a lot to say, so you know how I roll. I'm gonna bring people on and give
no, I'm
people.
getting ready for a Medicare ALJ hearing. This is my testimony that I've already typed up that I got
Oh,
before.
so you ready to the body slam?
It's not the body slam. It's just right now they're going after medical providers who've applied cellular tissue products for patients who have wounds, and like they're just going after anybody. I mean, but we're talking. I mean, listen, this was part of the problem. This was an issue that CMS created with the pricing policy that people took advantage of, that manufacturers took advantage of, and now they're screaming that they want the money back. So they're going after providers who legitimately done the care. But the problem is we're talking millions, hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars that went unchecked in policy. And, it's their own damn fault. And this has been a battle I've been fighting for 15 years. I'm in, this is the space I live in. So, but anyway, so no, to talk about like the Medicaid, like the money. So I had put a post up a few days ago about what this is really about. It's really about the Medicaid funding as a result of the Olmstead decision back in 99. And what this is going to do is it's going to shift dramatically. It's going to shift dramatically the spend from outpatient community, people to get services at home, that things get covered at home, to back to institutional medicine and institutionalized services, which are going to cost 5x. I think my numbers were like, it's right now it's like $23 billion a year to take care of people at home. And that's going to balloon to like 58 or 60 billion to reinstitutionalize them. And what I want to remind everybody is, listen, we all live in institutions. We all work with, we all have to deal with government. How elastic do you think government really is to have the ability to stretch and strain? I mean, hospital systems can't do it. Hospital systems are like one of the most inelastic institutions we have on the planet. They're dogmatic, they're regimented, they don't move at all. So imagine what's going to happen if you take an entire population, and we're not just talking about people with physical disabilities, we're talking about like learning disabled, physical disabilities, people with mental trauma, PTSD, everything that's in the book under the ADA is going to be affected with this. So that whole laundry list of every medical condition that's covered, from having, TDS, which is going to apparently be in the DSM-5, apparently, that they're going to put it in, from having just autism and anxiety disorder all the way down to YouTube disorder, right? Whatever's got a label, it's going to be under this whole thing. So this whole thing's about the money, and it's just frighteningly, stupidly insane what they're doing. And let me just pull up the stats. So I just want to be accurate when I'm giving.
No,
statistics.
I totally understand. I want to just ask you this question while you're doing that. We also don't have the institutions anymore to put people in. So guess what's going to happen? And
Lose them all.
people are going to end up in prison,
Yep.
or in these,
and how elastic are prison systems?
Yeah, I'm just saying they're going to end up in prison. You think the private prisons are bad, and everybody craps on the private prisons, but actually, the worst prisons in our country are actually the state ones. The ones run by state and county jails, like Rikers is on that list, and Rikers is not even a prison. My uncle, who has passed away, is a former correction officer. This is uncle by marriage. So, and he had a heart attack due to the stress of being working there.
Sounds like a certain senator from South Carolina who just had a heart attack from stress. Let me see.
So yeah, I just wanted to say, this is where the shift is going to go.
Right.
Like the shift is going to go to, we're going to put people in county jails and prisons and ICE detention especially if they're not U.S. citizens. U.S. born citizens. I'm not talking about naturalized. U.S. born citizens. If you're naturalized, they can take your citizenship away. And so if you're speaking up, and so and especially if you have problems, right? They're gonna be like, whoop, 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 like something's wrong with you. We're gonna stick you in one of these places. So what is the cost of doing that? You said
so just to kind of I know you kind of went over it, but remember, let's just say that this memo, it's July 14th. This memo came out 26 days ago. On June 18th was when that memo came out, right? They're selling this as a fiscal restraint. It's actually the exact opposite. And that's the scary part about this, is that it's the lying. It's the flat out lying about calling policy and what it's really adding out to be. So community care, what we call HCBS, okay, is about almost $17,300 per person per year. Okay. To go to institutional care is $54,460. Okay. It's a $37,000 penalty for choosing the institution. Now, here's the thing. So I think you and I have the same amount of stats. There's about 8.5 million people that rely on Medicaid HCBS. Even if you shift 5% back into the facilities, and I had done this, and I did the math. I have a bar graph on showing the financial shift. And then you add 15.6 billion to the action. You're going to add 5% shift. Okay. So what's 5% of 8.5 million?
A lot.
It's about 400,000 people.
I mean, I can do the math, but my brain's tired. I did not go to bed until
10% of 8.5 million is 850,000. So you take half of that. So you're talking about 425,000 people. That's a 5% shift. It's going to add $15 billion to the Medicaid spend. Now, they just cut $1 billion out of the Medicaid spend for next year, which is why nobody's feeling it right now because it's not, they made sure it's going to kick in after the midterms. If you shift 10%, double that number, it's going to go to 31 billion. So you're talking about if they even shift 500,000 people, it's going to cost between 15 and 20 billion dollars more. But here's the thing. It's relocating people. This is like the ICE facility. It's a relocation. It's literally like the concentration camps for disabled people.
Right.
Okay. It's putting them in the most expensive setting possible and calling it prudence.
And remember, we have a history in this country of laws on the book called ugly laws. I read a book on that. I
Yep.
will,
We still
and
have them.
so
They're still there.
and also just FYI, a lot of the things that allow people to be forcibly sterilized and
Which they're doing in ICE facilities.
right, they can do it. So I just want to just say, like, these laws that are eugenics based, which is a pseudoscience based, and white supremacy,
We
are
created here in the
we
US.
created
We
in the
created it.
United States, and it's based on white supremacy, are still on the books. Supreme Court has not overturned any of these.
Oh no.
So I
Not at
just
this
want to
point.
just say, like, oh, the courts, the courts, the courts. Good luck. The courts, like, we've been saying the court's gonna fix Puerto Rico since the early since the decisions that gave Puerto Rico third-class citizenship status in the United States as U.S. territory. They haven't fixed it. They still use those decisions to um, enforce racism and eugenics there in Puerto Rico against white folks who live there.
Can I
So I
can
just wanna
I
just
share
wanna
this window
remind
real
people of
quick?
that.
Let me share everybody this window so they can kind of see it. So this is the actual shift looking at money. So if you do a 1% shift, it's $3 billion. This is the cost. This is the cost based on, this per person cost gap. Here's your 5% shift. Here's your 10% shift. And I wouldn't throw it past the government to shift 25% of the disabled community. That's 2 million people.
And so I just have one more question for you because I know you gotta do your testimony. Isn't this more than what they pulled out of the system? My understanding it
Oh,
is.
it's insanely more than they pulled out of the system.
Okay. So
Yeah.
so a as the young people would say, the math ain't mathin', right?
Right. Didn't Obama say that? Wasn't that his line? The math ain't mathin'?
Well, it definitely comes from Gen Alpha, younger Gen.
General, right. So, but I want to just make this very clear here, okay? So that it's not changing the law, okay? Olmstead still stands. The rights are still enforceable in court, okay? But the rights mean less, and this is across the board. This is like
Via a private action, we gotta be very clear, it's gonna have to
right.
be via a private action. I'm actually having a
This is not repealing the ADA or repealing the Olmstead decision. What literally the federal government is doing is they're just going to say, we're just going to stop enforcing Olmstead's actions on states.
and
Okay.
territories.
And this is how protections get eroded. We allowed this to happen with Roe v. Wade with abortion. We allowed states to make choices because the federal government wasn't enforcing the legality of the Roe decision to codify abortion rights because it was never codified. So it was still kind of this open decision left open to the states. So the states said, well, we're just going to do what we want to do. And then this is what happens when you withdraw guidance and you quietly roll back rights to people. Okay. It's the same issues with the way ICE is operating, with the fact that they're going to do this with education. They've done it with VA. They're going to do it with VA disability ratings and VA benefits. This is the playbook is across the board.
Special education. They pulled special
Yeah.
education out
I mean,
of Department of Ed.
think about the departments they've dismantled. Why did they target education? Why did they target health and human services? Why did they target housing? Why did thank God that bill passed the other day. That became law, the housing bill.
Because
Uh,
they want us. I'm going to just say it, there's going to be some ableist language. They want us dumber, sicker, and not giving a
poor,
fuck,
poor,
and
poor.
and poorer, and not giving a fuck,
Right.
honestly, because
So
it's
that's
going to be all meant for
that's
the
the
shit.
Project 2025 plan. That's been their playbook, is to keep Americans stupid, keep us poor, and keep us uneducated. Because when you
Yeah,
do that, you control a population. That's what Germany did in the 30s. That's what Franco did in Spain in the 70s. It's what the Spanish did in the 1400s. It's what the, every, you can go through human.
they did that even up in some levels, because everybody elevates, and I'm part Cuban on my mother's side. Castro did some of the same BS, it as well, so, and then they did it in Russia as well. They were selective. Castro was selective. The communist government was selective on who can become intellectuals in their country. So was the former Soviet Union, now known as Russia. So,
This is an
uh,
old game plan. It's
this is
nothing
this is
new.
this is old, very old, and it comes from Europe. Because I'm gonna say this right now: if this was, if this didn't happen, this doesn't happen in other cultures. Just want to just say that this happened in other cultures. There's proof of this in archaeology. You go to Africa, you look at indigenous cultures here. You go to even the Far East, you look at the history there. Um, and it is what it is. Can I just ask you one more question, and then I'm going to let
Sure.
you go?
Yeah.
You are a subscriber to Nothing About Us Without Us, and I'm going to ask you, as somebody who is a friend of Nick's and now mine, and I did not ask you to subscribe.
No.
What made you just? I never asked my friends to subscribe. I have never asked anybody to subscribe. I've always asked, "Hey, can you share or whatever?" What made you to decide to
So
subscribe in your
I have a
book?
very basic, the answer is very basic here. Okay. I have always, from the time I have joined Substack, okay, including even with my own stuff, I don't ask people to subscribe either. Um, I support the creators who need support. I give my money freely because I'm able to, right? Thankfully I'm in a position I can do that. And if my money can do some good and change the world just that much, okay, I would rather support my fellow creators than just give it blindly to a charity where I don't know what's going to happen to the money. At least I know you're doing something good with the money I'm giving you. And I have a responsibility, not as a physician, right? But as a human, right? My mark is to leave my mark not in this space. Okay. I'm cross platforming a lot of stuff, and my role as an educator, as a physician, as a healer, okay, somebody who does health policy and is pretty good at health policy is I, if I don't give back, I'm failing as a human. If I am not giving back to the community that is supporting me and I need to support back. Unfortunately, we have creators here who think that, they can just torch the walls and torch the house and think that everything's going to be okay because they're single issue. Like they'll agree with me on 9 out of 10 things, but that 10th thing that they don't agree with you on, and they'll burn you.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been
Which
there myself.
insanely, I'm going to say it here. I know it's alive. I don't really give a shit.
Go ahead.
It is fucking stupid. It is short-sighted, it is childish, it is unintelligent, and it's not mature to be so proactively emboldened on one issue, okay? Like, yes, I agree with you, like, disability rights, it's your thing, it's your business, it's what you do, but you also understand that it's a global problem, and it affects other verticals that have to do.
What's going on in Gaza right now,
Right.
and anti-Semitism, as somebody who, again, I say this all the time, and this is not going to devolve into like, do we
No.
agree with Israel or right to exist or not? But for those who do not understand history, what happened to disabled folks in Nazi Germany they were first before the Jewish people and even members of the LGBTQ folks and every other community, such as the Romani and even some of the Black folks, the very few Black folks that were part of the Holocaust, but generally they weren't. And they didn't go to their colonies. They had colonies in Germany had colonies. They didn't go to their colonies and
Oh, they put
to
them in the camps.
they didn't they used them, right?
Yeah, they use them
In
for
their
labor.
colonies. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they needed the labor. So I
Yeah.
just wanna say, just to remind people that I believe, and I also have an uncle who is Jewish by marriage, and I have a lot of Jewish friends growing up in the Northeast that our histories are linked, and we gotta stand together. And if it's coming for us, it's gonna come for every other community,
And I
and you can't
I
just
just
do
I
that.
just need to say this point. I'm gonna excuse myself because I have to jump on my Medicare call because it's an actual administrative hearing, so it's a judge. I gotta get sworn in. But when we are talking about anti-Semitism, and I will love to have this conversation with you another time. But let me make this final point: is that when we talk about anti-Semitism, do not confuse pro-Israeli with Zionism, and do not confuse people who are Zionists as pro-Israeli government. Okay, Zionism, the definition by standard, is that the Jewish people have a right to their homeland, just like the French have a right to their homeland. People from Zaire have a right to their homeland. People from Canada have a right to their homeland. Okay, that's all that the definition means. Okay, now it's been bastardized because of Bolshevik Russians running the Israeli government, because this is the plan that they've wanted to do for 50 years. Okay, is to push these narratives that Israel is imperialistic, which they've been successful at, right? But it doesn't mean, and I've said this before, is that you can be pro-Israel and anti-Netanyahu government. Just like I'm pro-American and anti-Trump government. Okay? It doesn't make me a bad American. I have that right I have the right to be that way. Okay? But it doesn't mean that I torch everybody who doesn't believe what I believe. Okay? The whole point of why we are on this earth, okay, is to learn from each other, is to understand, is to be more utopian, not dystopian, right? Remember, it's always easier to destroy than create. So what you are seeing people do is trying to destroy us. Not the Jews, us, our Substack communities, because we are unified with one purpose, and that's to get rid of this fucking piece of shit administration with these eugenics, white supremacist, racist policies that do not benefit humankind. And certainly,
It doesn't, and in the long run, just the FYI, everyone, it does not benefit anyone who is in the Middle East, regardless if they're Arab or Jewish. So we need
right.
to stand together. We can, we can disagree on process, but if we agree, Ronald Reagan said it best. He said, "If I got 75 to 80% of what I want, I'm good. I'm Gucci."
Governing is choices. It's you're over here, I'm over here, and we kind of meet in the middle. We don't get everything we want, but we get a lot of what we want together. And this little space in the middle is that little 1% that we can agree on and can live with. That's where we live as Americans. And where we live in that 1% is following the rule of law, is following the Constitution. It's supporting everybody's rights. It's saying that Naida has the same rights as I do, regardless of the color of her skin, regardless of her background, regardless of her gender. Okay? That she has as much value in this world as I do, regardless of education, regardless of what kind of car I drive or what kind of pickleball paddle I use.
Or where we live. I mean, you're in Florida. You're in Florida, and I'm in Massachusetts. Like, if I was in Florida right now, I would have way less rights in Florida than I do where I live.
And I will bet any money that if she cut her hand and I cut my hand at the same exact spot in the same exact location, like right here, we're both gonna bleed red.
We would. So, Eric,
go
ahead, message me, and we will set up a time to definitely talk about this. All right.
Love you,
love you too. Peace.
Love you, my friend. Bye, everybody. Have a great day.
So I just want to say, this to everyone before we close out, um, is I wanna thank everyone for being here. I wanna thank Eric and Melissa for hopping on. Oh my god, Fox News just literally said education is the problem. Well, you know what? Fox News, as somebody who used to watch Fox News, has lost the plot. They've lost the plot. They lost the plot. They used to say, "We need education, but we need education to be more balanced." Now they're saying education is the problem? No, they can't control people. That's really what the issue, and people who used to watch them are actually, who were in that bucket, um, now seeing Fox for who they are. They are racist, homophobic, transphobic, and ableist. And we can't keep blaming people. So I'm gonna put this in a bow so everyone else can go about their day, and I can do what I need to do to get ready for my 5 p.m. live with Nick. Uh so one, if you can afford to, this is if you can't afford to do anything else or don't have the time, please like and share whatever content you see from Nothing About Us Without Us, so people can be able to find us. So I just want to say that is low bar. You don't have to do anything else. Uh please do that. That's everyone can do that regardless of where your energy level is. Second ask, if you want to do a little more, you can either there's a couple different options. You could either go to the store, Disability Community for Democracy store, and purchase some merch, or you could become a paid subscriber to Nothing About Us Without Us. Both options fund the work that Disability Community for Democracy does. So I can, I need to go to DC and be able to do lobbying. So, that's that's the second option. Third option is you can also volunteer for Disability Community for Democracy. So we have some open positions available. So we need some general volunteers for our different committees. We have a campaign lead and co-lead position, which focuses on getting the right people into office and making sure their campaigns are accessible. Um, you can also the other thing you can do is you can also become the grassroots lead or co-lead, help us build relationships with different types of organizations, or you could become our Southern Regional Legal and Policy Coordinator. So if you live in southern states like Texas and Florida and stuff like that, you can also do that. The only caveat is you have to have a disability uh, to serve in leadership positions, because nothing a Disability Community for Democracy is 100% run by people with disabilities. Thank you, Beth, for putting that in the chat. The other thing you can do, because I know some people, so for some people that's not a huge lift, but making phone calls and sending emails are, right. Some people have, like, using the phone or using email is also a barrier. Yes, it's free, but it takes more of your energy to do this because this is an everyday ask. Every day, we're asking people to call their U.S. Senate, two senators, and their representative, their House rep, calling for the codifying of the Olmstead decision into federal law. Um, all the positions are done from home, Sam. Um, uh, direct message me at my personal page, Naita Green, and I'll put it in. Put the spelling of my name in the chat, Sam, so you can find me. And we can definitely talk more about this. Beth, yes, Beth is the Western Regional Legal and Policy Coordinator, I'm going to make this very, very clear. We support we will support anybody who supports us. This is not about Democrats versus Republicans. This is about human beings. This is about being human and humanity. It's not for debate or up for debate. Just want to say that to people. I am, as somebody, just so people will know me, I am a sibling, a daughter, a niece, and a granddaughter of people who serve this country in uniform. So this is, I love this country. I wanted to serve this country. I could not for a lot of different reasons. One of them was due to disability. Um, and I wish I could have served this country. I really want to do that. Um, so those are the things you can do. There are other things you can do as well. I don't want to go through all of them, but these are like really the key things right now. Uh, I have one more announcement coming up, 2 more announcements. In August, we are going to do a lobby day. We're Nick and I are trying to, like, finalize that. Um, Thanks, Lynette. Yeah, I am serving my country, but I meant in the military because that was my dream. I wanted to go to the Air Force Academy. I wanted to fly because really wanted to fly planes. Um, 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 yeah, I wanted to fly planes. I wanted to be a pilot. And so I just wanna say that, we are going to have a campaign in August. Everyone in Congress is back in district. We're gonna have a lobby day where everyone, on a particular day or maybe within a couple within like, a week period, not sure how this is gonna play out yet, where people are getting together in small groups to go meet with their members of Congress, um, to get the word out about the work we're doing, and how they need to codify Olmsted via the reconciliation process because they can actually do it without spending any money. Um, like Eric said, it actually is cheaper to keep people out of institutions, and we need more humane institutions for people who actually need to be in there. I do agree with Sam on that. Um, and we need a better way to engage in our society too, that include that that the barriers to entry to be able to be a productive member of society, whatever that looks like for you as a person with a disability, are removed. Um, so I just want to just say that. The other thing is that we are gonna but are having a virtual rally a week from Saturday to talk about this as well. Also, you can also go to Sick of This shop. Beth has put that in the chat. They also have the Say No to Crip Crow variant t-shirts, which is different from Disability Community for Democracies. They took actually my design that I made and used for an article and they threw it on a shirt. It is cool. I am not I don't like putting my own personal designs on shirts. I will never do that for my org, but if other people want to, and as long as they have my permission to do so, I'm really grateful for that. They wanted to do that. Um, um, with that item that Beth put in the chat, they goes back to Disability Community for Democracy. Did not ask. I did not ask Nick or Beth to do that. They wanted to do it. I really appreciate it. I am the type person that if I can do it myself, I will try to bootstrap as much as possible. But this campaign is too huge. It's too bigly, as they say, and we need all the help that we can get. So other than that, those are the announcements there. Um, this will go out uh soon, probably tomorrow. It's gonna go out tomorrow. And if anybody has any questions, I am streaming from the disability community page. So if you have questions, DM my private page. I don't check the DM on this as often, and I'm not the only one who has access to this page. So DMing me here is not the best bet, but DMing me to my personal page is better because I'm the only one who has access to this. So I just want to say that. Does anybody have any questions or anything about getting involved? Oh, before I forget, general volunteers do not have to have a disability. Just want to say that you could be a general volunteer. You don't have to have a disability. If you want to volunteer for the regional committees, you just have to live in the region that you have to just live in the state where the region is located. Um, thanks so much for loving the community. Um, does anybody have any questions before I hop off? Does anybody want to say anything before I end this live? Does anybody else in the chat who has been a part of the community? Yes, I know I was gonna DM you about that. Anybody else wanna say anything? Beth, I know you're in your car, so I'm not gonna ask you, but, we will definitely talk soon about doing a joint live together about disability community for democracy stuff. Does anybody else who's a member of this community, who's a subscriber, want to hop on and do and say anything about this campaign and how it's moving you? Thank um uh thanks Beth. Uh Chris, you can also come on. Anybody else want to come on who is a subscriber who wants to say something about this campaign or anything else in general about what's happening before I end the live? You could just put it in the chat. I'm just gonna give it like 10 seconds. Oh, Chris, totally forgot. Okay, so if anybody has watched Chronically Ill and Out, Chris created this wonderful drawing, uh, illustration of Lady Liberty with the disability pride flag as the sash. Um, and it was totally awesome. Uh, it's on the shirt. Um, and I just definitely want to say that. And I really appreciate Chris that you did that. I am going to be using it for one of the images for the article, probably around how our liberties are being taken away. Um, just want to say that. I want to thank Chris for that. Thank you so much, everyone. We're definitely are super psyched about people getting involved. You are going last but certainly not least. Um, w- you you are gonna starting next week. We are doing lives where you're gonna meet the rest, not all of the team, but some of the team. Um, and so they can tell you why they're involved and what you can get involved in. So you're not just seeing my lovely face, you're gonna meet other people too. And I think it's important that everybody knows it's not just me. It's not just the people on Substack. A lot of people who are not on Substack who are doing the work behind the scenes for disability community for democracy. And I want everybody to get to know them. The ones who have decided to participate, and so with that, I'm going to say peace out. See you at 5 p.m. at Listening Louder, and I will talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.